We brought you down to the living room so you could, gosh, is that camera pointed down?
Who cares?
Okay, no, you gotta be in a good mood because we're introducing a new segment. We're gonna try something new, which is called What We're Watching. And my thought was, this is good for shows that maybe aren't currently on the air or we're watching on Netflix.
Or why you're in coronavirus lockdown.
Yeah, so, and we could just talk about a show that we don't necessarily want to commit to recapping every single week, but we kind of want to talk about. And it'll be less of like, this happens, this happens, this happens, and more of like, this is what the show's like. Do you have anything to contribute, John, since everyone thinks you're the funny one?
What are we talking about?
Okay, we're going to talk about Family Karma. So as of the filming...
Oh, this is the cross between Shaws of Sunset and the Whores of Hollywood Hills, right?
No, well...
No, it's not like that at all. It's like Families in Los Angeles, because that's kind of where we're from, except with morals.
I don't really, he pitched me this summary and I have no clue what he's talking about. So I still don't know, and he's explained it to me several times. Where we grew up, there was a large Indian population. I went to school with tons of people. I went to college, I went to UCLA.
There was a large everything population.
No, that's true, but this was a large, and I went to a lot of families like this. First generation Americans, really cool families. I don't know how much more they're like this, but I was vaguely interested with the pitch, which is families from India in the U.S. But I was pretty hesitant. I don't think I watched it until episode 3 was out, because I thought, oh, this is going to be another Housewives franchise where everyone's so cool and rich, and those are fun shows to watch in general. Well, but like the Shaws of Sunset, I'm not saying, it's just not my thing. Because it's like they're all trying to be so much cooler. And I get it. The way you watch these housewife shows is basically just to judge them. It's a show where you get to feel better about yourself because these people may be rich, but they're morons.
Terrible.
But they're such awful people who make such bad decisions that you're like, well, if I was rich, I'd be so much smarter than them. So I kind of...
And you would be.
Yeah, and you would be. You would be, we would be, everyone would be. So anyway, and I love a good housewife show. Is he going to back into our house?
Maybe.
Okay. Anyway, but I ended up eventually kind of gave it a try, and I like it a lot more. It has a little different feel than what we see from a lot of the Bravo shows. I haven't seen all the Bravo shows. But in that, the families seem to genuinely like the people in their family. Even when the moms and the dads are giving them a hard time about getting married or this or that, they seem to genuinely like each other. I really like the parents. I would say almost universally, I like all of the parents. I like the dynamics of watching them with their kids. They seem to genuinely like their children, want to be around them, want to spend time with them. That's not something you often see on Bravo shows, let alone TV shows in general.
It's like, do I really want my kid to walk in while my wife's watching this horrible show?
But not this one.
Yeah, this one.
But as opposed to everything else on Bravo. And so, like, I tried watching Vanderpump, and when I found out how much they made an episode, it really took all the joy out of it. But I thought it would be like that, but it's not really like that. So we're going to run through kind of some of the characters, but I think first off, one of the interesting things about this show is that so far we've seen a lot of the producer and like the interviews. Like they're breaking, instead of being like floating head interviews or talking head interviews, we hear the producers talking. You have this sense of like, yes, we're watching a reality show and we're acknowledging that it's a reality show, which is kind of nice because at this point, that is novel. The producer is Indian. We know because Anisha's, and I apologize if I mispronounce anything, I don't have the best hearing, grandfather calls over to the producer to ask her how many children she has and where she's from in India. But I actually thought that was a really nice touch because for me, it makes sense if you're going to do a reality show about Indian culture that you have someone who is Indian on the production staff. So I actually really like that. And you can hear sometimes when they're doing these interviews, it's kind of nice because someone from within the same culture who has a lot of the shared experiences can kind of call you out on stuff in a way that made sense. Like when Brian said that he's just looking for his Jasmine, and the producer's like, isn't Jasmine Arabic? And he's like, well, yeah, close enough. And then it was so sweet when Monica said she was looking for her Aladdin. It's the same thing. And she was like, yeah, but we don't have an Indian Disney princess, so that's going to have to count. Oh. So I'll introduce them first, which is Brian and Monica, they are definitely setting up. They've been friends forever. Stay on target, John. Don't lose. I can't lose you yet.
Completely lost interest in this.
So
if you haven't noticed,
and they're setting it up, and it's so weird to me because Brian looks so much like a guy I went to high school and college. We went to the same college, and we were in the same major. We were both computer science majors, and I was literally often the only. I was definitely the only blonde. I used to be blonde girl in these computer classes of 100 people, and a lot of times I was the only blonde. A lot of times,
as if computer nerds wouldn't
What?
wouldn't be infatuated with any kind of woman. You
Well,
were
no.
the stereotypical Southern California blonde.
No, and they would. It would be really. There was like 5 girls in a class of 50, and each girl had like 10 guys that they all hung out with. And there were several very beautiful Indian girls in there, and I remember a girl who wore Doc Martens. And anyway, we're getting off topic here. And so we're just slowly kind of starting to see some of the group, and then I have Anisha written down, but I think they pronounce it a little bit differently. But she's best friends with Vishal, and I feel for her. She's the one who's got the grandparents who live with her. She's telling her grandpa, I think I'm gonna freeze my eggs. And grandpa's like, what? They'll explode in the freezer. And you're just like, oh, that's so sweet. And her family's giving her a hard time, and she moved back from New York to try to start her business. And I really relate to her. I was 30 when I got married. And I was at that point where I was like, I was starting, that looking back, that seems so young, but I know that I felt so old. I was like, well, I better move out of my parents' house and just buy a house to die in one day alone with my dogs and my cat.
And your birds.
And my birds. So she's been friends with Vishal, who is like a goofy looking dude. That's the one you kept going, he's 30, no, he's 50, no, he's 30. And he's got Crohn's disease, and so he says he has to avoid conflict. I know people with Crohn's disease and they don't avoid conflict, but I also know it's a very, very serious disease that is affected by stress. But he's like, I'm going to sweep it underneath the rug. Like, he says that, and
I mean,
I'm like,
come on. If you had a convenient excuse to get out of stuff you didn't want to deal with, I mean, I'd use it.
I think that is a better testament to what he's doing, is that he just wants to avoid conflict. And he says it's because, but I love his
Based
mom.
on the 5 minutes of the second show, he can handle the drama.
I think,
If he's not causing it.
Yeah, so what happened
And by
was,
drama, we don't mean like it's,
it's your typical friends. It's your typical.
PG or less.
All of our friends are friends, and all of their
Mostly.
mothers are friends in the show. All the mothers are friends, and so there's stuff that happens, which is essentially that Vishal has been engaged to this girl forever, and her mom thinks he's a moron. I don't know if he is or isn't. He's not really doing a great job of convincing us otherwise that he is a serious businessman, as he is goofing off all the time, works for his mom, the whole shebang. So his fiance, Risha, I'm sorry, I'm butchering these names. Her mom comes to a Diwali event and tells everyone she can that he's a moron, he's after her money, he is an idiot. Anisha's mom is one of the people that she tells, and she tells Vishal's mom what happened. And then Vishal cuts off Anisha, just stops talking to her. She's texting him, she's like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, he's telling all of his friends it's none of her business, but he's not actually telling her, hey, he's like and so anyway, so they're having this conflict and it's getting worse and worse. Then he's talking to his friend Amrit, who's gay, who they're having some weird conversation about who's better friends with Vishal, and I'm like, both of you could probably find a better choice. And I guess there's someone else who's going to be in the show. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Shaan. I imagine it's I want to say Sean, but I'm bad with names. But I think he's Patel, and he's going to show up. I think we met him briefly, but like when everywhere I looked up the cast, it has his name, and I think we met him at a pumpkin patch event, but I don't know. So that is kind of the way that it's going. It's really interesting. Almost all of the parents. Oh, I'm sorry. And then there's Bali, who is fat, 40s, and she's awesome. And they're trying to say that she's
Did you
technically
call her fat?
fabulous and 40.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's not what actually came out of your face.
Well, she's definitely not fat. She's fabulous and she's 40. And I say that like people, Lordy, look, she's 40 is what people always would say. You know, I'm not saying it ironically. I'm saying she's awesome, and women are awesome in their 40s, which is for me. And I feel, and they're trying to like Vishal is trying to call her auntie, and I'm like, nice try. But the internet loves her.
Oh no! Well, we know anything on the internet has to be true.
Well, no, they love her.
While we're at it,
But
I'll make some stereotypes of Indian people. They cook good food. They love to party. And they always, I have not seen an Indian, definitely on this show, dress not very nicely.
And you worked with quite a few.
Oh man, they are smart people.
Yeah. So there you go. So some very hurtful stereotypes about them being.
Let's say they were hurtful.
No, I'm not.
I'm sure there's some exceptions.
No, I'm joking.
I just haven't
because
met any or seen any.
That'll be really hurtful to someone who does not dress well, I guess. No, and like I said, I went to school with a bunch of them. So in a way, this is not my culture. We're neither one of us are saying this is our culture. It'd be pretty obvious. But this is a culture that I have encountered, and I think it's one that hasn't been represented in, definitely not on reality TV, but on American TV, but I would like to see more of. So I recommend that if you are into reality TV, you want something a little bit different. There is some drama and some conflict, but it's not your typical
It's not
Bravo
as boring
drama.
as Sister Wives, and it's not as racy as whatever those awful shows are.
like the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. That's the one I was watching most recently.
Definitely wouldn't want my kid walking in and seeing whatever is on the telly when that's on.
The
Good
telly.
Lord.
The telly. To get a little trip around Brit. So anyways, that was our first what we're watching. If you have shows that you want us to review,
Keep it to yourself.
go ahead and post it in the comments. And this will just be kind of a segment that I think we're gonna go ahead and throw that Rob Rickles.
Yeah,
Rob Rickles. He's dead. Rob Rickles.
He's dead?
No, Rob Rickles. Don Rickles is dead. Rob Rickles is alive.
I'm so confused.
I just got two stand-up comedians. You wouldn't. I don't think you even know who Don Rickles is.
Okay.
Anyway, I hope you're staying safe and sane and take care of yourself and get out and take a walk.
And spread the virus.
No, don't spread the virus. Don't listen to John.
I think I'm hilarious.